This is an insult. Ma'am, please, calm down. You don't tell me
She
what to
slapped
do.
a 65-year-old black woman with a $50 bill folded into her palm and laughed. Buckhead, Atlanta, lunch hour, 200 witnesses, phones already recording. Vanessa Whitmore's diamonds caught the sun as her hand cracked across Mama Loretta. Freeman's cheek. The bill fluttered into a puddle of collared green juice on the sidewalk. Pick it up, Auntie. That's more than your whole cart is worth. The crowd gasped. Nobody moved except one man. He stood across the street under the Four Seasons awning. Charcoal suit, hands in his pockets. He didn't film, he didn't shout, he just watched. In 48 hours, that quiet man would erase $1.4 billion from her husband's company. And Vanessa Whitmore would lose everything except the one thing she didn't yet know she needed. Vanessa Whitmore wasn't born rich. That was the cruelest part. She grew up in Buckhead, west side of Atlanta. Two-bedroom apartment shared between her mother, 3 cousins, and a refrigerator that worked when it felt like it. She remembered standing in the WIC line at 13, head down, praying nobody from school saw her. She swore she'd never be that girl again. By 28, she'd married Marcus Whitmore, a Morehouse graduate turned tech founder who'd taken a black-owned media platform from a Howard dorm room to a NASDAQ listing. By 35, she was hosting Vogue editors in her Tuxedo Park mansion and pretending she'd been to Paris a dozen times when really she'd been once. Money didn't soften her, it sharpened her. She kept a private mental list of every woman who'd looked down on her when she was poor. Teachers, cousins, the lady at the corner store who told her, "Mama, food stamps don't cover that." She'd memorized their faces. And every time Vanessa saw an older black woman in a hairnet, an apron, a church hat at the bus stop, that old Buckhead shame burned up under her chest. So she made sure somebody else carried it for her. That Wednesday in October, she'd just left the 90-minute consultation at Buckhead Plastic Surgery. Hungry, cranky. Her assistant had forgotten to book her usual lunch at Le Bilboquet, so she walked. And on the corner of Lenox and Peachtree, parked under a sycamore tree, she saw a red and white cart with a hand-painted sign, "Mama Lo's Table, Soul Food, 8, God bless you." She rolled her eyes and got in line anyway. Loretta Mae Freeman had been serving food on that corner for 19 years, smothered oxtails on Mondays, fried catfish on Fridays. Sunday was closed because Sunday belonged to the Lord and to Elijah, even now. She was a broad-shouldered woman in a flour-dusted apron, silver hair pulled back under a navy blue church kerchief, reading glasses on a beaded chain her grandbaby had made her, hands that had cleaned hotel rooms in Detroit, raised 3 nieces, and finally found peace at a kitchen window in the city her husband had grown up in. She'd come to Atlanta in 2005 with 312 and Eli's last grocery list folded in her Bible. He died in 2003 in a hospital bed at Henry Ford after a long fight that emptied her savings, her retirement, and most of her hope. She'd been working 2 housekeeping shifts when he got sick. By the time he was gone, she was nothing but a widow holding his grocery list and his wedding ring on a chain around her neck. "Promise me, Lo," he'd said, the last clear morning. "Promise me you'll feed folks. Don't let nobody walk past you hungry on my account." She promised. She sold her car, took a Greyhound to Atlanta, his city, and started Mama Lo's Table on the corner he used to walk to as a boy. 40 meals a day, $8 each. If you didn't have 8, you got fed anyway, and she wrote your name in a notebook she never collected on. People loved her. Cops loved her. Construction workers, real estate brokers, hotel doormen, MARTA drivers, the homeless folks who slept behind the Phipps Plaza loading dock. Mama Lo fed them all. Called the young men baby. Called the young women sugar. Knew everybody's mama by name. She was known on that block the way a streetlight is known. You didn't think about her until she wasn't there. Then nothing worked right. That Wednesday, the line was 8 deep when a woman in a white Givenchy coat stepped up, looked at the menu, and said, "Do y'all have anything that isn't going to give me diabetes?" A few people chuckled, uncomfortable. Mama Lo smiled. "Got some collars, baby. Got smoked turkey wings. Got cornbread without sugar. My husband's recipe. You'll like it. Your husband? Vanessa scanned her head to toe. He let you walk around looking like that? Mama Lo's smile didn't move. He's with the Lord now, baby. Vanessa wrinkled her nose. Lucky him. If you've made it this far, you already know. Stories like this don't end where you think they end. There's a reason you're still here. Most people scroll past the ones that asked them to feel something. You didn't. Stay close. The truth in this one is heavier than the slap. Vanessa ordered the catfish plate. $8. She handed Mama Lo a crisp $100 bill and said, keep 92 of it. Buy yourself a real apron. Mama Lo thanked her quietly, didn't argue, wrote the tip in her notebook anyway, because that's what Eli would have done. Vanessa took 2 bites of the catfish on a paper plate, standing on the sidewalk in her $1,000 boots, and made a face. What is this? She said, loud enough for the line to hear. Tastes like a frying pan dyed in here. The line went quiet. Mama Lo stepped around the cart. Baby, if it's not to your liking, I'll fix you something else. Whatever you want, on the house. What I want, Vanessa said, is to know how a grown black woman pushes a cart on the corner at 65 years old. You don't have any sons, any nieces, any pride? Out here selling dead fish like a beggar woman, and you took my $100 like you'd never seen one. She turned to the crowd. Y'all see this? This is what's wrong with our community. Old aunties on corners with apron strings and no shame. Ma'am? Mama Lo started. Don't ma'am me. Vanessa flicked her wrist. The plate hit Mama Lo's chest. Catfish slid down the white apron. A young black mother in line holding her daughter's hand said softly, Sister, that's somebody's grandmama. That's enough. Vanessa wheeled on her. Mind your business before I make it mine. The mother stepped back, pulled her child close, covered her ears. Mama Lo bent down slowly and started picking up the catfish off the sidewalk. 65 years old. Bad knees. White apron darkening with the puddle, hand pressed to her lower back as she crouched. That was when Vanessa pulled the folded bill out of her clutch. Look at me, Auntie. Mama Lo looked up. She slapped her. The 50 fluttered down. That's more than your whole cart is worth, Vanessa said. Take it and buy yourself a little dignity. The crowd gasped. A phone was already streaming on Instagram Live, 43,000 viewers, then 60, then 100. Mama Lo didn't pick the money up. She stood slowly, her cheek red where Vanessa's ring had caught her. She wiped catfish off her apron with 2 old hands. The wedding ring on its chain swung at her chest, and she said the only thing she ever said when somebody hurt her. God bless you, baby. I hope your day gets better than mine. Then she turned, opened the cart's side panel, and started serving the next customer, a construction worker, cornbread and oxtails, $8. Across the street, under the Four Seasons awning, the man in the charcoal suit took one hand out of his pocket and tapped something into his phone. His name was Theodore Theo Calloway. If you read Forbes, you knew him, founder of Calloway Ventures. Net worth, $4.8 billion. Howard, class of '89. Quiet. The kind of quiet that comes from having nothing to prove to anyone, ever. That afternoon, Theo was supposed to sign a $1.4 billion strategic investment into Whitmore Media, Marcus Whitmore's struggling streaming company. Press release, Thursday at 5. Expected stock pop, 37%. Theo had flown in from Chicago on Tuesday night. He'd stayed at the Four Seasons because Marcus had recommended it. He'd come down for a quiet lunch alone. No entourage, no driver. When he saw the woman in white step out of a Bentley and walk toward a food cart, he recognized her instantly. He'd met Vanessa Whitmore once, 6 months earlier, at a fundraiser in Buckhead. Gracious, charming. Touched his arm twice. He remembered thinking, that's the kind of wife a man builds an empire for. He watched her now. He watched her slap a woman old enough to be her grandmother. He watched her throw catfish. He watched Mama Lo say, God bless you, and serve the next customer like the world hadn't just tried to break her on a sidewalk. And Theo Calloway, whose own mother had run a fish fry out of her kitchen in Gary, Indiana, for 31 years to put him to Howard, felt something cold settle behind his ribs. He didn't say a word. He crossed the street. He stood in Mama Lo's line, 8 people deep, suit and all. When he got to the cart, he ordered the catfish plate. "How is it?" Theo asked, paying with a crisp 20. "It's good, sugar," she said. "My husband's recipe." Theo took one bite, closed his eyes. "That's the best catfish I've had since my mama died." Mama Lo's voice softened. "I'm sorry for your loss, baby." "What's your name, ma'am?" "Loretta Freeman. Folks call me Mama Lo." "Mrs. Freeman, I appreciate you." He carried his plate 20 feet from the cart, took out his phone, dialed his assistant, Sheila. "Listen carefully. Get me a rooftop for tonight. Private, expensive, view of the city. 6:30. Then call Marcus Whitmore's office. Tell him Theodore Calloway would like the pleasure of his and his wife's company for a celebratory dinner before tomorrow's signing. Use that word. Celebratory." He hung up. 10 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Marcus had confirmed. Of course he had. Amy was now worth $1 billion. The 14th floor terrace at the St. Regis, Atlanta. 6:43 p.m. The sky over Buckhead was the color of bruised peaches. 3 crystal glasses of Cabernet on a linen draped table. A heater glowing soft orange overhead. Marcus Whitmore in a charcoal brownie suit. Vanessa in a sleeveless ivory dress, diamonds catching the candlelight. Theo Calloway across from them, calm as still water. For 30 minutes, they talked numbers. Subscriber retention, content licensing, the Latin America rollout. Marcus, animated, leaning forward, doing what Marcus did best, selling a vision. Vanessa, laughing in the right places, refilling Theo's glass, calling him Theodore with the soft drawl she used on Billionaires. Theo smiled, nodded, asked good questions. Then, at 7:14, between the salad and the entree, he set down his fork. "By the way, Vanessa," he said casually, "I heard there's a little video going around today. Something about Buckhead. A food cart?" The candle on the table didn't flicker, but something inside Vanessa did. Marcus's smile froze halfway up his face. "It's nothing," Marcus said quickly. "Crisis comms team is on it. By Monday it'll be buried, Theodore, I promise." "I'm not worried, Marcus." Theo's eyes never left Vanessa. "I asked your wife." Vanessa took a slow sip of her wine, recovered, dabbed her lip with the linen napkin, and then the smile. That little cunning, victorious smile. "Oh, that," she said, almost laughing. "Theodore, I have to tell you, you wouldn't believe the day I had. There's this old auntie out on the corner of Lenox and Peachtree, acting like the sidewalk belongs to her. Stained apron, greasy little cart. I asked her one polite question and she got disrespectful with me, tried to lecture me about her husband's recipe in front of a line. She rolled her eyes, performed a little shudder. So I put her in her place. Somebody had to. You know how some of these old aunties get when they don't know who they're talking to. I gave her $50 on top of the meal. 50. She should have kissed my hand. She looked Theo dead in the eye. Proud. Almost flirty. It's the kind of woman that gives our community a bad name. Sitting out there begging instead of getting a real job. Marcus opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Baby? Maybe? Maybe? It's fine, Marcus. She didn't even look at him. Theodore understands. He's been in the world. He knows how it works. Theo nodded slowly. He looked at his wine glass for a long moment. Then he looked back up. I was there. The terrace went still. Across the street. Under the Four Seasons awning. I watched the whole thing. The plate hitting her chest. The bill. The slap. I watched her bend down on bad knees to pick up the catfish you threw on the sidewalk. Vanessa's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I arranged this dinner tonight, Theo continued, voice quiet, because I wanted to see something. I wanted to see if maybe somewhere between 2 o'clock and 6:30 you had thought about it, felt anything. I wanted to give you a chance to say, I had a moment today and I'm not proud of it. That's all I needed. One sentence. He paused. Instead, you sat across from me and you bragged. The waiter approached with the entree. Theo lifted one finger. The waiter vanished into the dark. He turned to Marcus. Marcus, you're a good man, smart, hard-working. I respect what you built. I really do. I came to Atlanta because I believe in you. But I don't invest in companies whose leadership has no respect for other human beings. Not anymore. My mother pushed a cart for 31 years in Gary, Indiana, to put me through Howard. Somebody could have slapped her on a sidewalk like that. Nobody did, because the world used to have a little shame left in it. He folded his napkin and placed it gently beside his untouched plate. So here's where we are. Marcus was very still. You have 48 hours. Find the woman your wife slapped today. Her name is Mrs. Loretta Freeman. Everybody on that block calls her Mama Lo. You don't send your lawyers. You don't send your PR team. You go, both of you. You look her in the eye. And don't bring me an apology. I don't want it. I won't read it. Bring me her. He let that sit. If Mrs. Body. Freeman tells me, in her own words, that she has forgiven your wife, and that she, Mrs. Freeman herself, not you, not Vanessa, not your board, she asked me to invest in Whitmore Media, then I'll sign on Friday morning. Every dollar, just like we planned. Press release at 5. He stood up, buttoned his jacket. If she doesn't, the deal is dead, and before the markets close on Friday, the world is going to know exactly why. He looked once at Vanessa, a long look, the kind that doesn't have any anger in it, just the slow, final kind of seeing. Enjoy your dinner, Mrs. Whitmore. And Theodore Calloway walked off the rooftop, leaving 2 crystal glasses of Cabernet, a cold entree under a silver dome, and a marriage that was about to find out what it was actually made of. 48 hours, 1 sidewalk. One old woman in a stained apron who didn't even know her name was now worth $1 billion. The Bentley sat at the St. Regis valet stand with the engine running. Neither of them moved. Theo's taillights had disappeared down Peachtree 4 minutes ago. Marcus's hands were locked on the wheel. Vanessa's makeup was still flawless, and her diamonds still caught the parking lot light, but underneath the dress her shoulders were trembling. "Drive," she said. He drove. They got 2 blocks before she exploded. "He wants me to beg a woman in an apron." "Marcus, are you listening to me?" "He wants me, on camera, probably, getting on my knees in front of an old auntie who sells catfish on a sidewalk. And you sat there. You sat there and let him talk to your wife like that." "Vanessa, find another investor. Call somebody else. You're a billion-dollar tech founder. Call Robert Smith. Call Tyler Perry. Call David Stewart. I don't care. There's 100 black men with money who'd line up to—" "There isn't." "What?" "There isn't anybody else, Vanessa. I've been calling for 6 months." She turned slowly in her seat. "What?" He pulled the Bentley off Peachtree onto a side street, killed the engine, killed the radio, killed everything. When he looked at her, she had never seen his face like this. "Whitmore Media is burning, Vanessa. We've been hiding it from the board for 2 quarters. The Calloway money isn't a bonus. It's oxygen. Without him, we file Chapter 11 in 3 months. The house goes. The cars go. The Aspen place goes. Your mother's condo I bought in 19. That goes too, because I borrowed against it last spring to make payroll. Marcus, so you are going to listen to me. Right now. Carefully." He leaned in close enough that she could smell the wine on his breath. "You are going to find that woman tonight, tomorrow morning at the latest. You are going to look her in the eye, and you are going to get on your knees if that's what it takes. Kiss her hand. Wash her feet. Apologize on every camera in this city. I don't care what you have to do. You bring her back to Theodore Calloway by Friday at 7, and she tells that man to invest in us." "Or what?" Vanessa said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Or this marriage is over." The car went quiet. She stared at him for a long, long moment, looking for the joke, the bluff, the Marcus she'd married 12 years ago, the boy from Cascade Heights who used to call her queen and bring her sweet potato pie from Pascal's at midnight. He wasn't in that car. She nodded. Once. He picked up his phone. "Devin, I need an address. Loretta Freeman, black female, 65, runs a food cart at Lenox and Peachtree. Goes by Mama Lo. Home address, phone, family, anything. I need it before sunrise. I don't care what it costs." By 6:47 a.m., Thursday morning, Marcus's text glowed in the half-dark of their bedroom, 211 Mary Street, Pittsburgh neighborhood, southwest Atlanta. Vanessa put on the most expensive thing in her closet, a pearl cream. actress dress, her grandmother's gold bracelets, the diamond studs Marcus had given her on their 5th anniversary. She lined her lips twice, set her hair, looked in the mirror for a long time. She didn't recognize the woman looking back. The Bentley turned off Metropolitan Parkway at 8:14 a.m. Pittsburgh was the part of Atlanta the city didn't put on postcards. Narrow streets, wood frame houses sitting close together, some with neat little gardens and porch swings, some with plywood over the windows, a liquor store on the corner with iron bars on the door, a mural across the side of a shuttered laundromat, somebody's cousin who died too young, the dates underneath painted in dripping gold. 3 teenage boys sat on a low brick wall, passing a blunt back and forth, watching the white leather factory-tinted Bentley roll through their block like an alien craft. One of them spit on the pavement. Mary Street was the third turn. 211 was a small, one-story house painted robin's egg blue, the paint peeling at the corners, white window boxes with dried-up marigolds, a plastic flamingo by the porch steps, a hand-painted sign hung above the door, Every gust is a blessing. Hebrews 13:2 Marcus parked. They got out. The boys on the wall watched. Vanessa's Manolos clicked up the wooden steps like a metronome no one had asked for. She rang the bell. Nothing. She rang again. Nothing. She knocked harder. The screen door rattled in its frame. From the porch next door, an older black man in a Falcon sweatshirt stepped out slow as Sunday morning, coffee mug in his hand. He looked the Bentley up and down. He looked at Vanessa in her pearl cream actress standing on Mama Lo's peeling porch, and he made a face like he was solving a math problem he didn't want to solve. Y'all looking for Mama Lo? Yes, sir, Marcus said quickly. Is she? She ain't been home, baby. She came back from the cart yesterday evening looking poorly, real poorly. Sat on that porch right where you standing, sat there a good while in her apron, just looking at her hands, then went on inside. This morning, an ambulance came. Vanessa's stomach dropped. An ambulance? Wasn't no sirens even. Just rolled up about 6 and took her on out, quiet. Like they knew. Like they knew what? The neighbor sipped his coffee, didn't answer. Sir, which hospital? Couldn't tell you, baby. Marcus already had his phone to his ear. Devin, she's in a hospital somewhere in Atlanta. Find me which one, now. They sat in the Bentley for 53 minutes with the air conditioning whispering. Vanessa kept checking her phone. Marcus kept refreshing his email. The boys on the wall finished their blunt and started a second one. Children walked to school past the windows in their uniforms. An old woman pushed a wire grocery cart down the cracked sidewalk, eyeing the Bentley like she was making a mental note for somebody. The neighborhood lived around them like they weren't there. 9:47 a.m. Marcus's phone buzzed. He read the message. His face went still. Grady Memorial. Admitted 6 a.m. Some kind of collapse. Vanessa exhaled. Almost laughed. A collapse. So she's alive. We can still drive. Bentley peeled off Mary Street and tore north toward downtown Atlanta with 33 hours left on the clock. Neither of them asked what had happened to her. Neither of them asked if she was in pain. Neither of them asked if a 65-year-old woman had been carrying something heavier than catfish when Vanessa slapped her on a sidewalk in Buckhead the day before. They asked each other something else. Will she be conscious? Can she still talk on camera? Will she be able to look at Calloway and say the words? On the corner of Mary Street, the 3 boys on the brick wall watched the rich folks drive away. They didn't know what was happening, but somehow, the way kids on a block always somehow know, they knew it wasn't going to end the way the rich folks thought it was. Grady Memorial sits on Jesse Hill Jr. Drive like a battleship of glass and concrete, 11 stories of public health care for a city that has never been able to afford to ignore it. Vanessa's Manolo snapped a heel as she ran across the asphalt. She kept running. They burst through the lobby like 2 people who had never had to wait for anything in their lives. Loretta Freeman, Marcus said to the woman at the desk. Admitted this morning. The woman looked at Vanessa's diamonds, looked at her broken heel, made her quiet calculation. Are you family? Friends, Vanessa said. Close friends. 4th floor, Ward 4, family lounge on your right. The elevator took 7 seconds. It felt like 7 hours. When the doors opened, the smell hit them first. That particular hospital perfume of disinfectant and old coffee and quiet grief. The corridor stretched long and beige, fluorescent lights humming overhead, a janitor mopping somewhere out of sight, a television in a small waiting room playing the Steve Harvey morning show with the sound off. A nurse looked up from a clipboard at the station. Vanessa recognized her instantly. Denise. The Tuesday Turkey Wings nurse. The one who used to bring Mama Lo a paper cup of vending machine coffee at the end of a hot August lunch rush, leaning on the cart and laughing about her grandchildren. Denise's eyes flickered. She knew Vanessa too. From the video, from the news, from everything. She didn't say a single word. "We need to see Mrs. Freeman," Marcus said. "It's urgent. Please, I'll get the doctor." She turned and walked away. Slow, like she was deciding something with every step. Dr. Imani Brooks was in her 50s. Black, silver locks pulled back into a tight knot. Wire-rimmed glasses on a beaded chain. A stethoscope she'd been wearing for so many years it had become part of her body. She came around the corner with a folder in her hand, and the face of a woman who had delivered too many of these conversations to soften them anymore. "I'm Dr. Brooks. You're here for Mrs. Freeman?" "Yes," Marcus said. "How is she? When can we talk to her?" Dr. Brooks paused. It was the pause a doctor learns in residency. The pause that gives a family one last second on the bridge before the words push them off. "Mrs. Freeman suffered a massive ischemic stroke," she said. "Sometime late yesterday evening, alone in her house. By the time her neighbor heard her fall and called 911, the window for the medication that breaks up the clot had already closed." "What does that mean?" Vanessa whispered. "It means she's in a coma, stable for now, breathing on her own. But she is not conscious, and given the location and severity of the bleed, the likelihood that she will regain consciousness." Dr. Brooks chose her word with care, "is low." "How low?" "Sir, I do not deal in percentages with families. What I will tell you is this. At this point, what your friend needs is a miracle. Medicine has done what medicine can do." Marcus stared at her for a long, long second. Then he reached behind himself, found the wall with the back of his hand, and slid all the way down to the cold tile floor of the corridor, his back against the beige paint, his knees up. His $1,000 Italian loafers splayed in front of him like the shoes of a man who had finally stopped running. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just sat there on the floor of Ward 4 while a janitor pushed a mop bucket past him without looking down. Vanessa sat on the bench across from him, her broken heel beside her like a small dead bird, and quietly, helplessly, she began to inventory. The Tuxedo Park mansion, 12,000 square feet, a koi pond, a sauna she'd never even used, gone. The house in Aspen, the villa in St. Barth, gone. The Bentley downstairs in the lot, the G-Wagon at home, the little Porsche she bought herself for her 40th birthday, gone. The closet, 600 square feet of dresses, the Brunello cashmere, the Hermes Birkin she'd waited 8 years for, the diamond studs in her ears right now, the wedding ring on her finger. Gone, gone, gone. Her mama's condo in Smyrna, gone. The boutique she'd been about to open in Phipps Plaza, gone. The Vogue editor's personal cell, the country club board seat, the Soho House membership, the Buckhead plastic surgery account, the Bentley dealer who knew her by name. Gone, 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 gone. And underneath it all, like a low note humming under a song, the fear. The 13-year-old girl in the Buckhead WIC line who lived inside Vanessa Whitmore's chest, who had been the engine of every petty, hungry, cruel thing she'd done for 30 years, coming back up, crawling back up her throat. She stood. She walked down the corridor in her broken-heeled limp. "Doctor? Dr. Brooks. Please." Dr. Brooks turned. "Listen to me. We can pay. Anything. We can fly her to Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Johns Hopkins. We can bring the best neurologists in the country, Switzerland, Germany, anywhere. Marcus knows people. We can have a private jet on the tarmac in 2 hours. Specialists, experimental treatment, whatever they've got. Please, doctor, just wake her up. I don't need her for long. 10 minutes. 5. I just need to talk to her for 5 minutes, please." Dr. Brooks did not move. She did not raise her voice. That was the worst part of all of it, that she did not raise her voice. She looked Vanessa Whitmore up and down, the pearl cream actress, the diamond studs, the broken heel, the mascara already cutting black tracks down a face that had paid Buckhead plastic surgery, good money to look like it was 29. She had seen the video. Of course she had seen the video. And when she finally spoke, her voice was the calm, low temperature of 26 years of watching people walk into Grady Memorial believing that wealth was a key that opened every door in the building. Mrs. Whitmore. A pause. I have been a doctor at this hospital for 26 years. I have stood where you are standing with families richer than you. I have stood here with mothers who couldn't afford the parking ticket downstairs, and I tell every single one of them the same thing. She held her eyes. We are not gods. A beat. And I am sorry, Mrs. Airy. Whitmore. But your money can only do so much. She did not blink. She did not soften. She turned and walked back down the corridor toward the room. Vanessa would never be allowed to enter. The fluorescent lights hummed. Somewhere down the hall, a heart monitor beeped, a slow, indifferent rhythm. 6 months after the divorce, Marcus had landed soft. He'd salvaged enough from the wreckage to keep a small condo in Old Fourth Ward and a consulting job with a black-owned VC fund in D.C. He started running again. He was going to be fine. Vanessa landed somewhere else. The prenup had been clean. The houses, the cars, the country club, all in Marcus's name. She walked out of a Buckhead courtroom with $31,000 and no resume. She lost the mansion. She lost the closet. She lost the boutique she'd been about to open. The country club asked her to surrender her badge. She lost the gold-plated future she had been building for 15 years, one Birkin at a time. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst part was that, without ever signing a paper or attending a hearing, she had also lost the woman she used to be. She lived now in a one-bedroom walk-up off Memorial Drive, blinds closed. Her own mother hadn't spoken to her in 8 months. She had stopped looking in mirrors. She had read on Instagram, one trembling, 1 a.m., that Mama Lo was back. 2 months in the hospital, 1 in rehab. The cart back on the corner of Lenox and Peachtree like nothing had ever happened. And Vanessa had tried. 5 Wednesdays in a row, she had driven a borrowed Honda Civic up Peachtree, parked across the street under the same Four Seasons awning where Theodore Calloway had once stood. Watched Mama Lo move slow but sure behind that cart. Watched her hand cornbread to a stranger. Watched her call somebody baby. And every Wednesday, Vanessa had reached for the door handle. And every Wednesday, her hand had stopped halfway. Some sidewalks, once you've slapped somebody on them, you don't ever get to walk back across. That's what depression told her. That's what shame told her. She drove home. Closed the blinds. Got into bed at 4 in the afternoon. And somewhere across the city, on a corner under a sycamore tree, an old woman in a flour-dusted apron paused between customers and looked at the empty spot where a Honda Civic had been parked half an hour earlier. She had seen it every Wednesday. She knew exactly who was in it, and she was waiting.